Good day everyone, this is Nerhal Raja Patrol. I am Princess Nicole Charlotte.
And I am Arigi Pizarra.
And we are your news anchors for today's news. So before we proceed to Aristotle's model of communication, let me call on Mr. Jamer Marimon to introduce to us who Aristotle is.
Aristotle Introduction. A philosopher who lives in ancient Greece about 2,300 years ago. He taught and wrote about many subjects: science, policy, human nature, theater, music, and rhetoric. He was hired to be the personal teacher to Alexander the Great to help him prepare for a career as a political leader.
Thank you, Mr. Marimon. And next, let's call Mr. Rilioke to define the Aristotle's model of communication.
Aristotle's model of communication is a linear model with a focus on public speaking, and it is also a widely accepted and the most common model of communication where the sender sends the information or a message to the receivers to influence them and make them respond and act accordingly. He proposed the linear model to demonstrate the importance of the speaker and their audience during communication. As you can observe, Aristotle's model is largely focused on speaker and the speech, wherein the speaker is the main figure in communication. This person is fully responsible for all communication. And also, the speaker's job is to give a speech to the community, and the part of the audience is passive.
Thank you, Mr. Rilioke.
Next, we have Mr. Kirben Similia to discuss the 5 basic elements of Aristotle's model of communication.
Aristotle's model of communications is designed to explain delivering persuasive speech. The 5 components of Aristotle's model of communications are speaker, speech, occasions, audience, and effect. First, we have speakers. Speakers refers to the persons who deliver the speech. It is the primary elements of communications process that initiates the conversations. Communications cannot be designed without a speaker, so it is the crucial in all verbal and non-verbal communications type. So seconds, we have speech. Speech is the message of the communications that speakers want to deliver to the audience. The speakers deliver the speech to accomplish the goal. For example, political leaders produce persuasive speech to motivate supporters. And third, and we have occasions. Occasions means the context of communications that denotes the environments and represent why conversations occur. The speech pattern can be distinguished based on the occasions. For example, political leaders deliver speech based on the situations including political campaigns and social and personal events. So fourth, we have audience. So audience, it is the receivers of the speech that the speakers address and speech to the audience. So audience are known as listeners. For example, supporters are the audience in the political campaign. The audience play a passive roles impacted by the speech. There are the 2 types of audience, such as active and passive audience. This limits communications to the one directions from speaker to receiver. So lastly, we have effects. So effects, it is the positive and negative, the consequence of the speech. It is the measures whether the audience is persuaded or not. For example, a marketing managers provide a promotional speech to sell a product. Here, the effect refers to the buying audience of the customer. The 5 elements of Aristotle's model of communications are speakers, speech, occasions, audience, and effects. So, speakers should be follow Aristotle's model of communication to influence the audience positively when speaking in public.
Thank you, Mr. Similia. And now, let's have Mr. De Belen to explain why speaker is the most important in Aristotle's model of communication.
Speakers play an important role in public speaking. The speaker must prepare his speech and analyze audience need before he enter into stage. His, his words should be influenced in audience mind and persuade their thoughts toward him. Why speaker is the most important in Aristotle model of communication? Speaker have an important role in communication. For example, mayor is having a speech. His voice must be available and understandable. It is because the speaker message speech among audience should be in proper way of delivering. Thank you.
And for the last part, let me call Mr. Erwin Pizarra to identify what are the three critical elements of Aristotle's model of communication.
Aristotle's model of communication is mainly categorized into three components that are related to each other and are considered a must to become a good communicator. These elements of communication are as follows: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is the characteristics that defines the credibility of the speaker in a communication model. It is a fact that without credibility, the words of the speaker will hold no power over his audience and thus fail to impress and persuade them. For example, you're making a speech about diseases, about medicines, and you're trying to persuade the people to go to your clinic. They won't believe you, or you won't persuade them easily if you don't have the credibility. If you are not a licensed doctor, or if you're not knowledgeable about diseases. Next is pathos. When there's an emotional bond, it becomes easy to make a connection. Pathos in the communication model helps the speaker to connect with the audience through various emotions like anger, sadness, happiness, and confidence. For example, motivational speakers tend to relate their experiences to their audience experiences so that they can sympathize with them. When people become emotional, it will become easier for the motivational speakers to persuade them because they've already formed a bond through emotions. Another example, during elections or before elections, politicians persuade people to vote them. Logos. Logos is considered an important element of Aristotle's communication model that signifies logic. The audience will not only be influenced by the speech but also the logic behind it. For example, you are advertising and your product is whitening soap. You must first provide the evidence that it is effective and your users' reviews about your products so that it will be easier to convince the people to buy your product. That's it. Thank you.
Again, I am Princess Nicole Lichiralaga.
And I am Arigi Pizarra.
This is Nurhala Raja Patrol at your service. Thank you.